share my screen.
Purushottam month, we will sing Chaurashtakam. Vraje prasiddham navneeta गोपाङ्गनानां चतुकुलचारम् अनेकजन्मा जितपापचारम् चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि श्रीराधिकाय हृदयस्य चौरम् प्रभाम्बुधश्चालकान्तिचौरम् पादाश्रितानां च समस्तचौरम् चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पादाश्रितं करोति भिक्षुं सतिगेहहीनम् केनापि अहो भीषणचौरयित्रे दृष्ट्वा श्रुतो वा न जगत्त्रयेऽपि यदीयनामपि हरति शेषम् गिरिप्रसारन् अपि पापराशिम् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चौरयित्रे दृष्टा श्रुतो वा न मया कदापि धनं च मानं च तथेन्द्रियाणि प्राणं च हृत्वा मम सर्व एव पालायसे पुत्रधृतोऽधिचौरा त्वां भक्तिधाम्नासि मया निरुद्ध चिनत्सि घोरं यमपाशबन्धम् दीनत्सि भीमं भवपाशबन्धम् चिनत्सि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धम् नैवात्मनो भक्तकृतं तु बन्धम् मन्मनसे तमसराशि घोरे काराग्रहे दुःखमया निबद्धम् लभस्व हे चौरहरे चिराय सचोरदोषितं एव दण्डम् काराग्रहे वस सदा हृदये मदीये मद्भक्तिपाशदृढबन्धननिश्चलः सन् त्वां कृष्ण हे प्रलयकोटिशतान्तरेऽपि सर्वस्व चौरहृदयं विमोचयामि हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Let's read the translation also. I offer pranama to that foremost of thieves, who is famous in Vraja as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter to him, steals the sins which have accrued over many lifetimes. I offer pranama to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark luster of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet. He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering homeless beggars. Aho, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of in all the three worlds. Mere utterances of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere. O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run to? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion. You cut the terrible nose of Yamraja. You serve the dreadful nose of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage. But you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees. O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance. And there for a very long time you will remain, receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery. O Krishna, thief of my everything, the nose of my devotion remain forever tied. You will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart because I will not release you for millions of aeons. This Ashtaka is recited in the poetic meter known as Upajati. Hare Krishna. So this is the very wonderful Chaurashtakam written by Bilva Mangal Thakur, and this is sung in the Purushottam Mass. So let's begin our class with the prayers. ॐ अज्ञान्तिविरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः पंकजनाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्याय देवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्धिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्ता वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji's Danvat Pranam. So, thank you for joining in the morning. So, we will get started. So I bow down to each one of you who have joined the class. Thank you so much for joining in. So, I hope you can hear me very clearly.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So, so we are going to discuss from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10th, Chapter 1, and we will start with Shloka 41. And so till now, I mean, this Canto 10 talks about all the activities of Lord Shri Krishna. I mean, this is the 10th canto where activities or the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna are described: his birth, his Vrindavan pastimes, then his Mathura pastimes, then his Dwarka pastimes. All these pastimes are discussed in the 10th canto. This 10th canto has 90 chapters, and we are in the first chapter. This first chapter describes about the advent of Lord Shri Krishna. So the story goes that Devaki married Vasudev, and Devaki is sister of Kamsa, and they are just married, and Kamsa is taking Devaki to her home, basically Vasudev's home. So he's driving the chariot, and he's taking his sister, whom he loves very much. So he loves his sister very much. Both the brother and sister have a very intimate relationship, and Kamsa, though being a very cruel king, is very affectionate towards his sister, and he's taking her to his home. Now, when he's taking her to her home, there is a Akashvani. There is a sound which comes from the sky, which announces that you fool or you rascal, Kamsa, you are taking Devaki to her home, whose eighth son will kill you. And hearing this, Kamsa becomes very agitated, and the situation changes just there, right? I mean, within a fraction of a second, Kamsa, because he's very cruel and envious, he basically holds Devki's hair. He holds Devki's hairs with the left hand, and he has a sword in his right hand. Now, Kamsa is a very powerful king, right? He has fought many battles. So you can imagine the sword in his right hand, with which he has fought many battles, and is holding all the hairs of Devaki with his left hand, and is about to kill Devaki. Now, Vasudev, who has just married Devaki, is now very worried and wants to save his wife. So he is trying to discuss philosophy such that he can put some sense in Kamsa's head that what you are doing is wrong. He's trying to explain by explaining it from the Shastras. So he's trying to explain from the Shastras that what you are trying to do is absolutely wrong, and he's kind of giving a class on Bhagavad Gita. So these shlokas, few of these they basically talk about the Krishna consciousness philosophy. So we will look at those shlokas, and then finally, when he sees that Kamsa, being very cruel, does not understand the philosophy and will not take any, he is basically ignoring what Vasudev is saying. Then Vasudev does something which is like he tells Kamsa that I will offer all my children when once they are born, I will give it to them, give it to you, and you can do whatever you want to do. Because basically the eighth son will kill, right? But I'm ready to offer each and every son to you, and so that you do not have any fear or danger from Devaki. So why are you killing your own sister? So instead of that, I will offer each of my son to you, and you can do whatever you want to do, because the danger is from the sons, not from Devaki. Hearing this, Kamsa basically becomes little pacified, and because Vasudev is of such a great character, he agrees to that proposal, because he knows that once what Vasudev says, he will do it, because he knows the character of Vasudev. He agrees to that. And it is said that this Akashvani was done by the demigods themselves. And why did they do it? Because see, Devaki and Kamsa have a very affectionate relationship. So all the sons born of Devaki, or Krishna will be born of Devaki, the eighth son, will naturally have affection to his uncle, because the sister and brother have very good relationship. And the demigods do not want that Krishna develop any affection towards Kamsa, so that he can kill Kamsa. So in order to ensure that Krishna will kill Kamsa, the demigods do this announcement and create a rift or enmity between the brother and the son. So this is what has happened till now. And this is where Vasudev is now speaking to Kamsa and explaining some philosophy. And then we'll see later how he offers all his sons to Kamsa. And there are many important lessons from this. We will see as we go forward in the class. Okay. So let's start reading. Anybody would want to read the shloka? Please go ahead. Otherwise, we'll definitely do translation and perfect. So anybody wants to start? Okay, then I will start with the translation. Having experienced a situation by seeing or
Hare Krishna.
hearing. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji.
Can I do?
Yeah, Prabhuji, please.
Can you expand it a little, Prabhu?
Expand.
Increase the size. Control plus.
Is this okay, Prabhuji? Is this okay?
No, little more, Prabhu. Control plus if you can. On the mobile, it's very small to see.
Now?
वेबसाइट no, नहीं हो रहा, मेरे को तो नहीं हो रहा है यहाँ पे, आपको हो रहा है वहाँ पे?
I am trying to zoom that, Prabhu.
हाँ, now it is increasing slowly. Hare Krishna. Now it's better. Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Can you go to the translation?
Yeah. Wait, Prabhuji, I'll have to scroll this. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Prabhu. I forgot my spec somewhere. I was not able to see. Can you show me the
That's it.
translation? Should I read the verse or the translation?
Prabhuji, up to you. If you want to read the verse, or you can read the
स्वप्ने
translation.
यथा पश्यति देहम् ईदृशाम् मनोरथेनाभि नतेनाभिनिविष्ट. Oh, I lost the verse. I think it is transitioning as it comes.
Sorry, Prabhu. Let me read it. Okay, I'll read it. No problem.
No, I can read it. Yeah. Show me the translation, Prabhu. क्या ना थोड़ा slides late आ रहा है because of internet speed or some problem.
Yeah. Is it okay now, Prabhuji?
Okay, that's okay. I'm reading the translation. Having experienced this
I'm sorry,
considering
I
his
see.
present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night. Sorry,
Yeah, go
Hare
ahead,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Sorry. Sorry, go ahead, Prabhuji. Sorry.
No, no, no. Similarly, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances in different. Can you move the screen, Prabhu? I can't see the right side. Different bodies and forgets his actual. Can't see the left side.
It will come, Prabhuji.
Position.
Yeah.
Under the same process, one gives up his present body, and under the same process, one gives up his present body and go to the right. Yeah,
And
and
accepts another.
accepts another, and accepts another. Yeah.
Tehantara praptir.
Yes. Sorry for the thing.
No, no problem, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Transmigration of the soul is very clearly explained in this verse. One sometimes forgets his present body and thinks of his childhood body, a body of the past, and of how one was playing, jumping, talking, and so on. When the material body is no longer workable, it becomes dust. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. But when the body again mixes with the five material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the mind continues to work. The mind is the subtle substance in which the body is created, as we actually experience in our dreams, and also when we are awake in contemplation. One must understand that the process of mental speculation develops a new type of body that does not actually exist. If one understands the nature of the mind and its thinking, feeling, and willing, one can very easily understand how from the mind different types of bodies develop. The Krishna consciousness movement, therefore, offers a process of transcendental activities wherein the mind is fully absorbed in affairs pertaining to Krishna. The presence of the soul is perceived by consciousness, and one must purify his consciousness from material to spiritual, in other words, to Krishna consciousness. That which is spiritual is eternal, and that which is material is temporary. Without Krishna consciousness, one's consciousness is always absorbed in temporary things. For everyone, therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita 9.34, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. One should always be absorbed in thought of Krishna. One should become his devotee. One should always engage in his service and worship him as the supreme great. And one should always offer him obeisances. In the material world, one is always servant of a greater person. And in spiritual world, a constitutional position is to serve the supreme, the greatest Param Brahma. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivera Swarup Hoye, Krishnera Nitya Das. Chaitanya Charitamrit, Madhya Leela, 20.108. To act in Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life and the highest perfection of yoga, as Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantratmana shraddhavan bhajte yo mam same yukta tamo mata. Of all the yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The condition of the mind which flickers between sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting something and rejecting it, is very important in transferring the soul to another material body at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tajjati ante kalevaram tam tam evati konteya sada tat bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of mind, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Therefore, one must train the mind in the system of Bhakti Yoga, as did Maharaj Ambrisha, who kept himself always in Krishna consciousness. Savay mana Krishna padaravindayo. One must fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If the mind is fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet, the activities of the other senses will be engaged in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. To serve Rishikesha, the master of the senses, with purified senses, is called Bhakti. Those who constantly engage in devotional service are situated in a transcendental state above the material modes of nature. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam chayo avyabhecharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samtitya yetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall in any circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One must learn the secret of success from Vedic literatures, especially when the cream of Vedic knowledge is presented by Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because the mind is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the word apasmrita is significant. Forgetfulness of one's own identity is apasmrita. This apasmrita can be controlled by the Supreme Lord, for the Lord says, Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real position, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death, even though the mind may be flickering. Although the mind may work imperfectly at the time of death, Krishna gives a devotee shelter at his lotus feet. Therefore, when a devotee gives up his body, the mind does not take him to another material body. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mamit. Rather, Krishna takes the devotee to that place where he is engaged in his pastimes, mameti, as we have already discussed in previous verses. One's consciousness, therefore, must always be absorbed in Krishna, and then one's life will be successful. Otherwise, the mind will carry the soul to another material body. The soul will be placed in the semen of a father and discharged into the womb of a mother. The semen and ovum create a particular type of body according to the form of the father and mother. And when the body is mature, the soul emerges in that body and begins a new life. This is the process of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Tatha deyantara praptir. Unfortunately, those who are less intelligent think that when the body disappears, everything is finished. The entire world is being misled by such fools and rascals. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul does not die when the body is destroyed. Rather, the soul takes on another body. Hare Krishna. So, a very big purpose. Now, imagine this is 10th canto, right? 10th canto, right? So this is about activities of Lord Shri Krishna. And you can see Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada is explaining the philosophy of Krishna consciousness here also, right? Because he knows that somebody might just pick the 10th canto and start reading that without even going through the first 9 cantos. And so he is giving the philosophy of Krishna consciousness even here. Sorry. So he's giving the philosophy of Krishna consciousness even here, right? He's explaining the basic philosophy. See, for the materialist, they are always looking outside, right? They are always looking outside for enjoyment, for sense gratification. Their life is always trying to better the outside conditions, trying to improve the weather, trying to improve the condition, trying to improve the state of life, trying to improve the external factors. Whereas for a person or a spiritual person is always looking inwards. He's always trying to fight his senses, trying to control his senses, trying to improve his consciousness. And you see that our movement is so aptly named, right? International Society for Krishna Consciousness, right? Why the word consciousness, right? That's what Prabhupada explains here, right? The consciousness is very, very important because it is the consciousness or the mind which creates another body, or the type of the body you get depends on your mind, right? That's what is being explained here. And that's why Prabhupada has named this movement. He did not name it as International Society for Krishna, right? He could have said that, right? Because but he said Krishna consciousness, right? Because that consciousness is very, very important. And the consciousness is what takes us, will bring us out of this cycle of birth and death, or will continue in this cycle of birth and death, right? So the consciousness factor is very, very important. And Srila Prabhupada, basically this, the purport here, or the explanation here is kind of the chapter 2, right? Bhagavad Gita summarized. And Prabhupada has brought in all the points from that chapter 2 and trying to explain how important it is to have the right consciousness. So this is what is the greatness of Prabhupada's books, right? No matter what chapter or what you pick up, he will give that message of the importance of following Krishna consciousness. Eh, I mean, mind you, this is 10th chapter, right? This is about advent of Lord Krishna. So any Rasika or Rasik Bhakta might think, oh, I will now get to hear about Krishna. But Prabhupada is making sure that you have the basics very clear, and then you can enjoy those pastimes of Lord Krishna, right? So and there is one very subtle message also here, the situation which let's see the situation, right? So Devaki, Vasudev, and Kamsa, right? These are the three characters in this situation. Now, what Devaki represents is Jivatma, right? Because the Jivatma will always face imminent death, and she's facing an imminent death here, right? And Kamsa represents this materialism or material advancement, or this material world, or the way the material life is, right? So he represents that it's very cruel. You know that material life is very cruel. You can see the lot of materialism increasing day by day, the cruelty increasing, the corruption increasing, nations fighting with each other, people trying to kill each other. So this materialism, or the progress of the materialism, is what this Kamsa represents. And Vasudev is representing the Shuddha Sattva, or this Krishna consciousness. And as we can see, a Jivatma who is facing an imminent death can only be saved by Krishna consciousness. He cannot be saved by the materialistic life, right? This, I mean, imagine Devaki is a 14-year or 15-year-old girl, right? Because she has just been married. It's Dwapar Yuga, so you can imagine the girl getting married just after the first puberty, and she's just 14 or 15 years old, and during those previous 14 or 15 years of life, she had a very intimate relationship with her brother, right? The material life. So we can see that we Jivatmas also have a very intimate relationship with our material life. Is it not? We also think, oh, this material life is all good. I will be safe, and I can enjoy. So you can see the situation of Devki. She had a very intimate relationship with her brother, and all of a sudden, this brother has turned against her and is now trying to kill her. So this is the similar situation we all find ourselves in, right? That we think that this material life can save us. My power, my prestige, my job, all this can save me, but nothing actually saves us, and it is only Krishna consciousness which can save us from imminent death. Now, how does Krishna consciousness save us from imminent death? Is it not that a devotee also dies? The Krishna consciousness saves us from imminent death by bringing us out of from this cycle of birth and death, so that we never have to face death again, right? So Vasudev represents the Shuddha Sattva, or the Krishna consciousness, who is trying to save the Jivatma from the material life. So this is the situation, kind of allegorical situation you can think of here, right? And let's see what happens further. Sorry, somebody is trying to say something. I'm extremely sorry. Okay, let's move to the next shloka. Anybody wants to read?
Right, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhuji. Sundar Keshav Prabhuji.
This is 42nd shloka, right?
Yeah, right.
यतो यतो धावति दैवचोदितं मनो विकारात्मकमपपञ्चसु गुणेषु माया रचितेषु देह्यसौ prapadyamana sahatena jayate. At, at the time of death, according to the thinking, feeling, and willing of the mind, which is involved in fruitive activities, one receives a particular body. In other words, the body develops according to the activities of the mind. Changes of the body are due to the flickering of the mind, for otherwise, the soul could remain in its original spiritual body. Hare Krishna.
Can you read the purport also?
1 second. Screen size. Yeah. One can very easily understand that the mind is constantly flickering, changing in the quality of its thinking, feeling, and willing. This is explained by Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 6.34. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramadi bala vruddhadam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind, the mind is chanchala, flickering, and is changing very strongly. Therefore, Arjuna admitted that controlling the mind is not at all possible. This would be as difficult as controlling the wind. For example, one were in a boat moving according to the wind of the river, on the river or a sea, and the wind were unable to control, uncontrollable. The tilting boat would be very much disturbed and extremely difficult to control. It might even capsize. Therefore, Bhava Samudra, in the ocean of mental speculation, the transmigration to different types of bodies, one must first control the mind. By regulative practice, one control the mind, and this purpose of yoga system, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena, but there is chance of failure with the yoga system, especially in the age of Kali, because the yoga system uses artificial means. If the mind is engaged in Bhakti Yoga, however, by the grace of Krishna, one can easily control it. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Namaiva Kevala. One should chant the holy name of the Lord constantly, for the holy name of the Lord is not different from Hari, the Supreme Person. By chanting Hare Krishna mantra constantly, one can fix the mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Savera Manah Krishna Padaravinda. And in this way, achieve the perfection of yoga. Otherwise, the flickering of mind will hover on the platform of mental speculation for sense enjoyment. And one will have to transmigrate from one type of the body to another because the mind is trained only in relation to the material elements, or in other words, to sense gratification, which is false. Maya Sukha Bharam
Vato with Vimudam.
Bhagavatam 7.9.43. Rascals, Vimudha, being controlled by mental speculation, makes huge arrangements by which to enjoy life temporarily. But they must give up the body at the time of death, when everything is taken away by Krishna's external energy. Mrityo sarva harsha chahum. So at that time, whatever one has created in this life is lost, and one must automatically accept a new body by the force of material nature. In this life, one may have constructed a very tall skyscraper, but in the next life, because of one's mentality, one may have to accept a body like that of a cat, a dog, a tree, or perhaps a demigod. Thus, the body is offered by laws of material nature. Karmam guna sango syasad asadyoni janmas. Bhagavad Gita 13.22. The spirit soul takes birth in higher and lower species of life only because of his association with the three qualities of material nature. Urtvam gachanti sattvasta madhye tishtanti rajasaha Jagunya Gunavruttista Adho Gachati Tamasaha. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets, and those in the mode of passion live in the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. In conclusion, Krishna consciousness movement offers the topmost welfare activity for human society. The section of human society must therefore take this movement very seriously for the benefit of all humanity. To save oneself from the repetition of birth and death, one must purify his consciousness. Sarvobhadi vinuruktam tatparetvena nirmalam. One must be freed from all designations. I am American, I am Indian, I am this, I am that. And come to the platform of understanding that Krishna is the original master and we are his eternal servants. When the senses are purified and engaged in Krishna's service, one achieves the highest perfection. Hrishikesha Hrishikesam Sevanam Bhaktiruchyate. The Krishna consciousness movement is a movement of Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya Vidyanism Bhakti Yoga. By the following the principles of this movement, one becomes disassociated from material mental concussions and is established on the original platform of eternal relationship between the living entity and supreme personality of Godhead as servant and master. This in summary is the purpose of Krishna consciousness movement. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. So again, see, why is basically, see here, Vasudev is speaking philosophy to Kamsa. He is thinking that by explaining the philosophy, by explaining the basis of transmigration of soul from one body to another, he can tell Kamsa that whatever you are doing is wrong, and whatever, if you do wrong, you will have to take another body. He's basically, he's very compassionate. He's even trying to save Kamsa from this transmigration of his soul from one body to the other, and trying to explain to him that by killing your sister, you will have to face the consequences of that activity, and making sure that probably Kamsa will see sense in that and stop that killing. But as we will see further, that Kamsa is a very, very cruel king, and he does not care about what will happen in the next life, right? And this is what we can see even in today's material world, right? People don't care about what will happen or what will be the consequences of their activities. They are just behind material enjoyment. And Kamsa being, as I said, right, Kamsa represents that material progress or materialism, right? And we can see that it just doesn't stop. People don't, it is very difficult to explain to people that whatever activities or whatever they are doing will have consequences. They don't care about that. And similarly is the position of Kamsa. And so Vasudev is trying his best to save his wife from Kamsa by first trying to explain the philosophy, and that's where he goes into that very deep knowledge of the Vedic literature, and we can see all this knowledge of Vedic literature is available to us in the concise form in Bhagavad Gita, right? Bhagavad Gita gives us all this Vedic knowledge which Vasudev is discussing with Kamsa, right? And very elaborately explained by Lord Shri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And all these, that's why you can see that all this discussion between Vasudev and Kamsa are, you will feel that you are reading Bhagavad Gita, right? Basically, that's what is you will feel that discussion is happening between Arjuna and Lord Shri Krishna. See, the only difference is Arjuna understood what Lord Krishna was saying. See, again, this discussion is happening on a chariot only, and there are two characters who are doing this discussion. And again, you can see, but the difference is that Arjuna surrendered to Krishna and understood the knowledge and acted accordingly. here Kamsa will not understand or will not take that knowledge from Vasudev seriously, and then let's see what happens with Kamsa. Finally, he's killed, right? Finally, Lord Krishna will destroy him. And as I said, right, this enmity between the brother and sister was specifically introduced by the demigod so that the Lord does not become affectionate towards his uncle, and that's why they announced upfront. But this announcement has caused great trouble for Devaki and Vasudev, but the demigods also know that Vasudev is very, very capable of saving Devaki. Now, you might question that is this like all planned by Krishna, or why did the demigods announce that this will happen? Why did this happen? Why that happened? So we'll discuss all that. Let's go further into the next shloka.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, shall I read?
Go ahead, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Text 43. Translation and arpat by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jyotihi yathaivodaka parthiveshvara samireganugatam vibhavyate yevam swamaya rachiteshva saupuman guneshu raganugato vimuhyati. Translation. When the luminaries in the sky, such as the moon, the sun, and the stars, are reflected in liquids like oil or water, they appear to be of different shapes, sometimes round, sometimes long, and so long, because of the movements of the wind. Similarly, when the living entity, the soul, is absorbed in materialistic thoughts, he accepts various manifestations as his own identity because of ignorance. In other words, one is bewildered by mental concoctions because of agitation from the material modes of nature. Purport. This verse gives a very good example by which to understand the different positions of the eternal spiritual soul in the material world, and how the soul takes on different bodies. Dehantara praptihi. The moon is stationary and is one, but when it is reflected in water or oil, it appears to take different shapes because of the movements of the wind. Similarly, the soul is the eternal servant of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when put into the material modes of nature, it takes different bodies, sometimes as a demigod, sometimes a man, a dog, a tree, and so on. By the influence of Maya, the illusory potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity thinks that he is that person, American, Indian, cat, dog, tree, or whatever. This is called Maya. When one is freed from this bewilderment and understands that the soul does not belong to any shape of this world, one is situated on the spiritual platform, Brahma Bhuta. This realization is sometimes explained as Nirakara or formlessness. This formlessness, however, does not mean that the soul has no form. The soul has form, but the external agitating form he has acquired because of material contamination is false. Similarly, God is also described as Nirakara, which means that God has no material form, but is Satchidananda Vigraha. The living material forms, the living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Satchidananda Vigraha, but his material forms are temporary or illusory. Both the living entity and the Supreme Lord have original spiritual forms, Satchidananda Vigraha. But the Lord, the Supreme, does not change his form. The Lord appears as he is, whereas the living entity appears because the material nature forces him to accept different forms. When the living entity receives these different forms, he identifies with them and now his original spiritual form. As soon as the living entity returns to his original spiritual form and understanding, he immediately surrenders to the supreme form, the personality of Godhead. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunam anmanam ante nanavan ma prapadyate. When the living entity, after many births, is in different forms, returns to his original form of Krishna consciousness, he immediately surrenders unto the lotus feet of the supreme form, Krishna. This is liberation. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labhate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Surrender unto the Supreme Form is the result of bhakti. This bhakti, or understanding of one's own position, is the complete liberation. As long as one is under an impersonal understanding of the absolute truth, he is not in pure knowledge, but must still struggle for pure knowledge. Kleshokatas tesham avyakta shakta chetasam. Bhagavad Gita 12.5. Although one may be spiritually advanced, if one is attached to the impersonal feature of the absolute truth, one must still work very hard, as indicated by the words kleshodhi kataraha, which means greater suffering. A devotee, however, easily attains original position as a spiritual form and understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form. Krishna himself explains the forms of the living entities in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where he clearly says to Arjuna that he, Arjuna, and all other living entities who were previously in their original forms are separate individual identities. They were individuals in the past, they are now situated in individuality, and in the future they will continue to maintain their initial forms. The only difference is that the conditioned living entity appears in various middle forms, whereas Krishna appears in his original spiritual form. Unfortunately, those who are not advanced in spiritual knowledge think that Krishna is like one of them and that his form is like their material forms. Avajanati mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam. Bhagavad Gita 9.11. Krishna is never puffed up by material knowledge and is therefore called Achyuta, whereas the living entities fall down and are agitated by material nature. This is the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entities. In this connection, it is to be noted that Vasudeva, who was situated in transcendental position, advised Kamsa to commit further sinful activities. Kamsa, a representative of the demons, was always ready to kill Krishna or God, whereas Vasudeva represents a transcendentally situated person to whom Krishna is born. Vasudeva is the son of Vasudeva. Vasudeva wanted his brother-in-law Kamsa to refrain from the sinful act of killing his sister, since the result of being agitated by material nature would be that Kamsa would have to accept a body in which to suffer again and again. Elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.4, Rishabhadeva also says, Na sadhu manye yata atmanoyam asanna api kleshada ashadeha. As long as the living entity is entangled in the fruitive activities of so-called happiness and distress, he will receive a particular type of body in which to endure the three kinds of suffering due to material nature. Sritapa yantrana. An intelligent person, therefore, must free himself from the influence of three modes of material nature and revive his original spiritual body by engaging in the service of the Supreme Person, Krishna. As long as one is materially attached, one must accept the process of birth, death, old age, and disease. One is therefore advised that an intelligent person, instead of being entangled in so-called good and bad fruitive activities, should engage his life in advancing in Krishna consciousness, so that instead of accepting another material body, Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti, he will return home back to Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. Again, a very, very instructive purport, a very detailed purport explaining the philosophy very, very clearly. Right. So first of all, we can see that Vasudeva is fearless, right? He's not afraid. He's fearless. He's in anxiety in order to save his wife, but he's not fearful. He's definitely fearless, and that's why he can speak all this, right? Because he's transcendentally situated. That is the reason he's fearless, right? We can see another example of Prahlad Maharaj in Bhagavatam, right? He was fearless. He was fearless of his father. No matter what happens, he was fearless. So this fearlessness can only come when we are situated on that platform of transcendence, right? That this cannot come without having that knowledge that whatever that material world is temporary, and no matter what I do here has not I mean, it's all temporary and will definitely get destroyed. See, it is very easy to talk about it philosophically, but to put it into practice requires that detail. I mean, I would say that detachment, that practice of bhakti yoga. Then only this can come into practice. Otherwise, we all hear this, right? That knowledge will give you fearlessness, but when some danger comes in, we become fearful, right? It's because our practices are very, very poor, right? Once, if you practice it, if you practice bhakti yoga, this fearlessness will automatically come, as can be seen from the example of Vasudev and Prahlad Maharaj. That Vasudev is fearless of Kamsa, and he's trying to instruct him, trying to give him good knowledge so that he can also avoid this repeated cycle of birth and death, and he would not have to face the consequences of doing an heinous act of killing his sister, right? And and we can see that Prabhupada has explained the philosophy in a very, very clear, concise, and crisp way. He discusses about Nirakar, formlessness, and how the Lord is not Nirakar, but is Sachitananda Vigraha. And about, as we see in Bhagavad Gita, right, that the soul is always individual and will remain individual. So and it's not formless. So all this you can see in one purport. Prabhupada has explained so many things, and so in such a clear and crisp way about what is who is the Supreme Lord, how he is Sachidananda Vigraha, and what is living entity, what are the activities of the living entity. So all that is explained here, and through the example of this discussion between Vasudev and Kamsa. Again, just like Krishna was giving knowledge to Arjuna, Vasudev is trying to give knowledge to Kamsa and trying to make good sense of him, right? But as we'll see that Kamsa will not hear to any of this, and then finally what Vasudev will do. So let's move ahead.
Shreegopal Prabhu ki jai. Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Please go ahead and read if you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, the Sammam Bonam, Chapter 1, The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, Text 44. Tasmanakai kasyachit droham acharet sa tatha vidha atmana kshemam anvichan drogdurvai parato bhayam. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Therefore, since envious, impious activities cause a body in which one suffers in the next life, why should one act impiously? Considering one's welfare, one should not envy anyone. For an envious person must always fear harm from his enemies, either in this life or in the next. Purport. Instead of being inimical toward other living entities, one should act piously by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord, thus avoiding a fearful situation both in this life and in the next. In this regard, the following moral instruction by the great politician Chanakya Pandita is very meaningful. Tyajadurjana samsargam bhaja sadhu samagamam kuru punyam aho ratram smaranityam anityatam. One should give up the company of devils, demons, and non-devotees, and should always associate with devotees and saintly persons. One should always act piously, thinking that this life is temporary, and not be attached to temporary happiness and distress. The Krishna consciousness movement is teaching all of human society this principle of becoming Krishna conscious, and thus solving the problems of life forever. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sarjuna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So again, further Vasudev is trying to tell Kamsa that why are you becoming envious? Why are you trying to do this impious activity? Because you'll suffer in the next body, right? You'll have to take another life and suffer this impious activity which you'll do. So he's trying to explain he's trying to explain to Kamsa not to kill Devaki, because that will incur sin and he will have to face the consequences of the sin. And he's trying to explain that through various means, but Kamsa will not listen and will act in a way which is very devious. So here Srila Prabhupada is again saying that the Krishna consciousness movement, as I said, right, the Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the society the principle of Krishna conscious, of becoming Krishna conscious, and thus solving the problems of life forever. As I said, right? How does Krishna consciousness solve the problem? Because it can bring you out from the cycle of birth and death, and hence solve this problem of facing death, imminent death, right? That's as I said earlier. Devaki represents the Jivatma, right? And the Jivatma is facing imminent death, right? Everybody is facing. We don't know when death will come. It's just a matter of time, and we'll all will die. And everybody in this material world is facing that imminent death. And the only way to solve this problem of imminent death is to get out of this cycle of birth and death. And how to get out of the cycle of birth and death? The only way to get out of the cycle of birth and death is to become Krishna conscious. There is no other way that you can come out of this cycle of birth and death unless you become Krishna conscious. And that's what I said, right? Vasudev represents that Shuddha Sattva or the Krishna consciousness, right? Which can only Vasudev can save Devaki, right? In the situation which the situation it is, only Vasudev can save Devaki. Similarly, only Krishna consciousness can save the Jivatma from that materialism or the material nature, right? Which is represented by Kamsa. So we can see that how important is Krishna consciousness. And that's why Prabhupada is also saying that please take this movement very seriously. This is the highest benefit for the whole human society, right? And so we are very fortunate, right, that we have got associated with this movement where we are getting this knowledge and we can understand this. Now it is up to us to take this seriously and follow the principles of Krishna consciousness and make our life successful, right? So let's see what happens further. And point 1. Hare Krishna Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Esha tavanuja bhala kripana putrikopama hantum narhasi kalyanim imam tvam deenavatsalaha. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As your younger sister, the poor girl Devaki is like your own daughter and deserves to be affectionately maintained. You are merciful and therefore you should not kill her. Indeed, she deserves your affection.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol. So you can see the brother is trying to kill his sister. And what is the husband saying? That this sister, she's like your daughter, because as I said, right, it is Dwapar Yuga. And Devaki might be very young, right, around 14 or 15 years when she's getting married. And Kamsa is trying to kill Devaki. And as I said, right, Devaki, please understand the situation of Devaki, right? She is just getting married, a young girl, and on one hand is her brother, other hand is her husband, and she has had that relationship with his brother, and all of a sudden his brother is trying to kill her, and her husband is trying to save. Now you can see that Vasudev has just married Devaki, right? He doesn't have that intimate relationship for a very long time with Devaki, right? He has just married. It's just the marriage day, right? But still, Vasudev is trying to save Devaki. So similarly, if you see Krishna consciousness, no matter how long you practice or how I mean, if you even practice Krishna consciousness for one day, it can save you. So even old people taking to Krishna consciousness, anybody even on deathbed taking to Krishna consciousness is helpful. Just like as you can see in a very short time, Vasudeva is trying to save Devaki. Similarly, Krishna consciousness will try to save a Jivatma no matter for how long you have practiced Krishna consciousness. So that is the power of Krishna consciousness. And we can see here that Vasudeva is trying to save Devaki and Kamsa, with whom Devaki had a very, very intimate relationship for a long time, right? From birth till like 14 or 15 years, which means a pretty long period of time. So similarly, as we can see, Jivatma has a very intimate relationship with this material life and materialism, and thinks that this will save, and I'm happy. So you can see that some people are proud of their jobs, people are proud of their bodies, people are proud of their wealth, people are proud of their health, people are proud of so many things. And it's just a matter of time, or just one flip, right? Today, people are getting 4 a.m. mails where they are getting laid off. So your job can go at any time. Your body can go at any time. And that's what is the sudden transformation you can see from in Kamsa, who represents this material nature, right? Because that's how that material nature is. That's how cruel that material life is, that it will not give you any time and it can turn against you at very, very quickly. So as Kamsa turns against Devaki so very fast, this material life can swallow us very, very quickly, and it will not give us any notice. No matter how intimate you have been, or how much hard work you have done or tried to satisfy that materialism, right? Similarly is our senses, right? No matter how hard you try to satisfy them, they'll never be satisfied and will always ask for more. So with this, we can understand the position of Jivatma, who's Devaki, and how Krishna consciousness can save Jivatma, but this material life will always try to kill the Jivatma, right? So let's move ahead. And here you can see there is one very important thing which is mentioned, that she deserves to be affectionately maintained. It means the Jivatma deserves affection, right? It deserves affection. And we can clearly see that we cannot get affection in material life. There is no affection in material life. Why do you think we all came to Krishna consciousness? We came to Krishna consciousness because we could not get that affection in material life. So, but the Jivatma deserves affection, and that affection you can get only in Krishna consciousness. And that's where, when you get that affection, you stay in that Krishna consciousness. And that's where you can see in our satsang, why are people there in our satsang? They are there, and they are there for so many years because they can feel that affection, which they are not getting outside, right? Because of that affection, because of that bonding, because of that love, which we can see in our satsang and Krishna consciousness, that we stay in Krishna consciousness. And that's what Vasudeva is also saying, that your sister deserves that affection and needs to be affectionately maintained. Okay, let's move ahead. 10.1.46. Anybody wants to read?
Prabhuji, I continue this one, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
Shri Sukha Uvacha एवं स समाभिर्भेदैर्बोध्यमानोऽपि दारुणः न न्यवर्तत कौरव्या पुरुषाधान् अनुव्रतः. Translation. Sukadev Goswami continued, O best of Kuru dynasty, Kamsa was fiercely cruel and was actually a follower of the Rakshasas. Therefore, he should be neither pacified nor terrified by the good instruction given by Vasudeva. He did not care about the result of sinful activities, either in this life or in the next. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
So, I mean, this is very clear, right? Kamsa was fiercely cruel and was actually follower of the Rakshasas. So we can see the material life is very cruel, and it cannot be pacified or terrified, right? It is neither possible. So Kamsa is neither pacified nor terrified. So let's see what Vasudev will do next. 10.1.47.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
May I read, Prabhu?
Yeah, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
10.1.47. Nirbandham tasyatam jnatva vichintya kanudhundevi praptam kalam prativodhyam idham tatranvapadhyata. Hare Krishna. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. When Vasudeva saw that Kamsa was determined to kill his sister Devaki, he thought to himself very deeply. Considering the imminent danger of death, he thought of another plan to stop Kamsa. Hare Krishna, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Although Vasudeva saw the imminent danger that his wife Devaki would be killed, he was convinced of his welfare because at his birth the demigods had played drums and kettle drums. He therefore attempted another way to save Devaki. Hare Krishna.
So Vasudeva is trying to save his wife, and let's see again what next he does. Anybody wants to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can do.
Yeah, please.
10.1.48. Mrityurbodhi matapohyo yavad buddhi balodayam yadyasana nivarteta naparadhosti dehinam. Translation by His Holiness Sri Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada ki jai. As long as he has intelligence and bodily strength, an intelligent person must try to avoid death. This is the duty of every embodied person. But if the death cannot be avoided in spite of one's endeavors, a person facing death commits no offense. Hare Krishna. Purport. It is natural for a person facing untimely death to try his best to save himself. This is one's duty. Although death is sure, everyone should try to avoid it and not meet death without opposition, because every living soul is by nature eternal. Because death is a punishment imposed on the condemned life of a material existence. The Vedic culture is based on avoiding death. Taktva deham punarjanma naiti. Everyone should try to avoid death and rebirth by cultivating spiritual life, and should not be submit to the death without struggling to survive. One who is not trying to stop death is not an intelligent human being, because Devaki was face to face with imminent death. It was Vasudeva's duty to save her, as he was trying to his best to do. He is therefore considered another way to approach Kamsa so that Devaki would be saved. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here it is said that sorry, Prabhu, that we must always try our best to save oneself, right? Now, why is that? We all know that will come one day. But why should one should save oneself? One should try to save oneself because this body is given by the Supreme Lord, and it is our duty to preserve that body given to us, because it's a gift from God, right? So that is one understanding. The second understanding is that because the body is kind of a vehicle, and you can use this vehicle to perform service to the Lord. So that's why we must also try to avoid that, right? If one can save oneself by some means, you should definitely try to do that, right? If you are attacked, you should definitely try to defend yourself, right? That's what this is saying, that according to the Vedic understanding, we should try to save ourselves, right? And it is nothing is wrong in that. But if we cannot save ourselves and that happens, it happens, right? But the general propensity or understanding is that we must try to save ourselves, and that's why suicide is condemned suicide is condemned. In fact, it is condemned everywhere, but it is specially condemned in the Vedic literature that one should not do suicide because, as I said, the body is a gift from the God, and we cannot just destroy it, right? And another purpose, as I said, that using that vehicle, we can use that vehicle to serve the Lord. So, considering all this, Vasudev, that's why Vasudev is trying to save his wife Devaki, and he knows that, as he had also heard that announcement, right? That eighth son of Devaki will kill Kamsa. So he knows that if the announcement has been made, then Devaki must be saved so that she, because if Devaki is not saved, the eighth son cannot come, and since the eighth son cannot come, Kamsa cannot be killed or destroyed. So he knows that something good will happen if I save Devaki, and that's what he's try his best to save Devaki, and that's why he's considering another approach now to save Devaki. Let's see what he does. And just one more point I want to make. See, please understand that death is I mean, for materialistic and for a spiritualistic, death is it's a very different.
அங்க உட்காந்து 3 சேர்ந்துக்கிறாங்க போய் கூட்டு வர 10 மணிக்கு 10:30 வந்துருவேன்.
Prabhuji, can you mute yourself? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, see, the death is very different for a devotee and a non-devotee, right? For a non-devotee, death is like you're getting caught in that. See, when the cat catches hold of its kitten, right? The kitten is blissful, right? Because it knows it's in the jaw of its mother. But a mouse which is trapped in that same jaw is very fearful. So death for a devotee is just like kitten being in the mouth of its mother, and for a non-devotee, it's very fearful. So that is also the difference, and that's why we even celebrated the disappearance of Vaishnavas, right? So let's move ahead. 49 and 50. I'll read the translation. Yeah, please, Prabhuji, please continue. No, Prabhuji, you read. You can read the shloka also very well.
No, not like that. You can also do. So this is the thing. Thank you for giving every devotee opportunity to read with sloka and meaning, Prabhu. That's good. I like this approach. I'll implement in future classes. So thank you. So text 49 and 50. Pradaya amrutyave putran mochaye imam sutame yadi jayeran mrityurvana mriyeta chet विपर्यायो वा किं न स्यात् गतिर्धातुर्दुरत्यया उपस्थितो निवर्तेत निवृत्त पुनरापतेत. Translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vasudeva considered, by delivering all my sons to Kamsa, who is death personified, I shall save the life of Devaki. Perhaps Kamsa will die before my sons take birth, or since he is already destined to die at the hands of my son, one of my sons may kill him. For the time being, let me promise to hand over my sons so that Kamsa will give up this immediate threat. And if in due course of time Kamsa dies, I shall have nothing to fear. Purport. Vasudeva wanted to save the life of Devaki by promising to deliver his sons to Kamsa. In the future, he thought, Kamsa may die, or I may not beget any sons. Even if a son is born and I deliver him to Kamsa, Kamsa may die at his hands. For by providence, anything could happen. It is very difficult to understand how things are managed by providence. Let me read one more time this statement. It is very difficult to understand how things are managed by providence. Thus Vasudeva decided that he would promise to deliver his sons to the hands of Kamsa in order to save Devaki from the imminent danger of death. Hari Bol. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. So now Vasudev devises this plan to save Devaki because I mean, his thought process is, okay, maybe Kamsa might die in future. We don't know. At least let me try to save Devaki for now. It might happen, I may not beget any child, or because he doesn't know what will happen in future, right? So at least from the present danger, let me save Devaki. Though in future he might get sons and he might go and give those sons to Kamsa and he might kill those sons. But still he's thinking that I don't know if I will get sons or not. Or it could happen that as there is a announcement that one of my sons will kill Kamsa. So let me at least save Devaki from this danger. And that's where he decides that let me try to promise Kamsa that I'll deliver all my sons to you. So, but and it's very important point, right? Like, it is very difficult to understand how things are managed by providence, right? I mean, there are so many things happening in our life, and we think, oh, why did this happen to me? Why did that happen to me? So it is very difficult to understand how things are managed by providence, and it is not in our control. That is what we have to understand. So let's look at the further shloka. This is explained further in this next shloka. Let's read this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can you read?
Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
अग्नेर्यथा दारुवियोगयोगवयोर् अदृष्टतो अन्यं न निमित्तमस्ति एवं हि जानतोरपि दुर्विभाव्यः शारीरा समयोग वियोग हेतुः. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: when a fire, for some unseen reason, leaps over one piece of wood and sets fire to the next, the reason is destiny. Similarly, when a living being accepts one kind of body and leaves aside another, there is no other reason than unseen destiny. Purport: when there is fire in a village, the fire sometimes jumps over one house and burns another. Similarly, when there is a forest fire, the fire sometimes jumps over one tree and catches another. Why this happens, no one can say. One may set forth some imaginary reason why the nearest tree or a house did not catch fire, whereas the tree or house in a distant place did. But actually, the reason is destiny. This reason also applies to the transmigration of the soul, by which a prime minister in one life may become a dog in the next. The work of unseen destiny cannot be ascertained by practical experimental knowledge, and therefore one must be satisfied by reasoning that everything is done by supreme providence. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. So, right, we have this session in SSR, right? Free will, destiny, and karma, right? That so it is said that a human being, right? He actually whatever happens with him, right? It is said that there are three things involved in it. One is the karma of his parents, the karma of the previous life, and the karma of this current life, right? These are the three factors probably which act. Now, out of these, two factors are not in the control of the human being, right? One is, I mean, in the present life, for example, the karma of his parents, or the karma which he has done in the previous life. But he still has a choice of the karma in this life, right? That's what is free will, right? It's you have that free will where you can decide to do certain things, and you can the you can change your destiny, right? That's what people say. But these two things, these two factors are not controlled by you, right? The karma which you have already performed and the karma of your parents, right? So here it is said that, and it is, as I said, right, it is very difficult and cannot be ascertained by practical experimental knowledge, right? We cannot understand all this, right? We might try to, okay, oh, this might have happened, and that's why that happened. But this is all what is known as just trying to speculate. This is all speculation that, oh, because I did this, this might have happened with me. Because I did that, that might have happened with me. But it is all happening by the will of the supreme providence. That's what is mentioned here. And that is the reasoning we must be satisfied with it. So there is certain free will which we have. There is certain control which we have. We have control over what karma we do now. But beyond that, it is all, everything is done by supreme providence. That is what we have to understand. So, and by doing good or by performing Krishna consciousness, we can definitely change our destiny. That is also very clear, right? Uh, so that's the free will which we can exercise to change our destiny. But everything else is controlled by the supreme providence. That's what is mentioned here. Okay. And that's why, see, we should not fear, or we should not. It's said that there are two things, right? Chinta and chintan. Now, to chinta means worry, to worry about what will happen in future, and chintan means to contemplate, right? We must always do chintan, and we should not do chinta, right? Chintan means we should contemplate, oh, how I can do something, how can the temple come up, how can I increase these activities. So that is contemplation, right? So we must do chintan, and we must not do chinta, and leave that to the supreme providence. That's what is also being mentioned here. Okay, let's move ahead. 52. Anybody wants to read?
Prabhu, shall I?
Yes, go ahead.
Evam vimrusyatam papam yevadatmanidarsanam pujayam asavai sauri bahumana purassaram. After thus considering the matter as far as his knowledge would allow, Vasudeva submitted his proposal to the sinful Kamsa with great respect. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Vasudeva is now giving this proposal to Kamsa in order to save his wife, that I will deliver each of my son to you after birth. Read this.
Prasannavadhanam bhojo nrusamsam nirapatrapam manasa dhuyamanena vihasannidamabraved. For translation by Srila Prabhupada, Vasudeva's mind was full of anxiety because his wife was facing danger. But in order to please the crucial, shameless, and sinful Kamsa, he externally smiled and spoke to him as follows. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sometimes one must act duplicitously in a dangerous position, as Vasudeva did to save his wife. The material world is complicated, and to execute one's duties, one cannot avoid adopting such diplomacy. Vasudeva did everything possible to save his wife for the sake of begetting Krishna. This indicates that one may act duplicitously for the purpose of saving Krishna and his interest. According to the arrangement already foretold, Krishna was to appear through Vasudeva and Devaki to kill Kamsa. Vasudeva therefore had to do everything to save the situation. All the events were pre-arranged by Krishna, a devotee must try his best to serve the purpose of Krishna. Krishna himself is all-powerful, but it is not that a devotee should therefore sit idly and leave everything to him. This instruction is also found in Bhagavad Gita. Although Krishna was doing everything for Arjuna, Arjuna never sat down idly and a non-violent gentleman, as a non-violent gentleman. Rather, he tried his best to fight the battle and be victorious.
Harit Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. So here, I mean, we can see that Vasudeva is making every attempt to save Devaki because he knows that Krishna will be born from Devaki, or the Lord will appear from the womb of Devaki. And although he doesn't, I mean, maybe he doesn't, I don't know if he knows it or not, but he knows that something great is going to happen because there is already a announcement made on that. And so here we can see that devotees must have full faith on Krishna, but they must make their own effort also, right, for to save the interest of Krishna. Now there is a very, very, very classic examples, right? You can see Govind Dev Ji, right? When the temple of Govind Dev Ji was attacked in Vrindavan, there was a Goswami called Shivaram Goswami at that time in Vrindavan, right? and he came to know that there will be a Mughal attack on the Govind Dev Ji temple. So in the midst of the night, he ensured that Govind Dev Ji is moved out from the temple and he's taken to a safe place. So see, Krishna is all powerful, but the devotees have to make the best effort to serve Krishna, right? And that's that. And then we can see there are so many examples of this where devotees act on the behalf of Krishna in order to save the save Krishna or save the activities of Krishna, right? Or save Krishna consciousness, right? So even Prabhupada, right? He had to handle so many things, right? The construction of the Juhu temple. He was all in. You can see that he was also trying to handle it diplomatically. Now, here diplomacy doesn't mean that I have to exploit somebody. It's diplomacy is not in that sense. Diplomacy means being smart and doing what is needed to be done, right? So it's like that, and we can see that. I mean, in fact, Prabhupada had said that these people did not know what I'm trying to do. Otherwise, they would have harmed me. I mean, Prabhupada makes this statement that these Americans did not know I mean, because when he landed in Boston, nobody knew what he's going to do, what he's there for, right? So he, I mean, he was smart and you can see that he entered like a needle and came out like a plow, right? This big movement came out from this. So diplomacy is something like that where you are not trying to exploit. I mean, when the word diplomacy is used here, it doesn't mean exploitation in the modern context, right? Because today, if you look at diplomacy, it means how can I exploit somebody? Diplomacy. That's what is diplomacy mentioned. But here it is about saving the activity of Krishna and saving Krishna. And there are many examples how diplomatically devotees have handled things or how they have tried to save Krishna. Though Krishna is all powerful, devotees have acted on behalf of Krishna in order to save Krishna also, right? You can see the example of Govind Dev Ji. Because once the Mughal army was coming to attack Vrindavan, it was 100% sure they would have destroyed Govind Dev Ji, right? They would have destroyed the Vigraha of Govind Dev Ji, the deities of Govind Dev Ji, and many other deities also. So, but the devotees were smart and they acted on behalf of Krishna and saved Krishna, right? So it is our responsibility, our duty to take necessary steps whenever we face dangers. Whenever there is danger to our Krishna consciousness, whenever there is a danger to Krishna, it is our responsibility. It is the devotee's responsibility to act on behalf of Krishna, right? And that's what Vasudeva is also doing here. And you can see he's smiling. He's showing that, okay, I am giving you this proposal. Though he's anxious internally, but and that's what is diplomacy, right? That he's trying to get his things done. That is what he's trying to save Krishna here. Okay, let's move ahead. 54. This is the last shloka we'll do today.
I'll read Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Shri Vasudev. Could you please scroll, Prabhuji? I can't see.
Sorry, Prabhuji. Sorry, Mataji.
Shri Vasudev Uvacha Naha Yasya Te Bhayam Saumya Yadvai Sahasra Sharira Putran Samarpayisyasya Yataste Bhayam Udhitam. Translation said Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Vasudev said, O best of the sober, you have nothing to fear from your sister Devaki because of what you have heard from unseen omen. The cause of death will be her sons. Therefore, I promise that when she gives birth to the sons from whom your fear has arisen, I shall deliver them all unto your hands. Purport. Kamsa feared Devaki's existence because after her 8th pregnancy, she would give birth to a son who would kill him. Vasudev, therefore, to assure his brother-in-law the utmost safety, promised to bring all the sons. He would not wait for the 8th son, but from the very beginning would deliver to the hands of Kamsa all the sons to which Devaki would give birth. This was the most liberal proposition offered by Vasudev to Kamsa. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. So this is the final proposal. This is the final a thing which Vasudeva has in order to save Devaki. And as we'll see further down the line, because of the character of Vasudeva, Kamsa actually agrees to this proposal. Okay, so we will stop here, and if there are any questions, comments, and I would like to seek everybody's forgiveness. Please forgive me if I have spoken anything which might have hurt you or something is wrong. So please correct me. So if there are questions, we can take that, and you can definitely put in your comments.
And nicely presented, Prabhu. No hurting.
Nice
Who
class,
is
Prabhu. I think two takeaways for me, Prabhu, that analogy of Jivatma and material world and karma, ISKCON consciousness. That actually very well said, Prabhu. And second one is Chinta and Chintan. I think these are two takeaways for me. Thanks, Prabhu. Excellent class.
I will tell you one thing, Prabhu. 51 sloka. I made one point. So I took note from this purport. The work of unseen destiny cannot be ascertained by practical experimental knowledge. And therefore, one must be satisfied by reasoning that everything is done by supreme providence. Krishna's, providence is taking place. Krishna wants, this is one thing, right? Rake Krishna Mare Krishna Rake ke. Need to understand that one. So this is one point I have made a note, Prabhu. Thank you so much. No hurting. I mean, why you are hurting? Nicely presenting. And everybody engagement also. Purports, translations, and all the sloka recitation. Jai. Shreegopal Prabhuji Jai. Thank you very much.
So we'll stop the class then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Krishna
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Thank you,
Dhanapranam,
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.